my little diamonds. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 3, Spread Your Wings and Try. Today, I would like to welcome a very special guest. This is my brother, David May, and when it comes to spreading your wings and trying, he has certainly done that. He started at 15 working in fast food, went to college for accounting and business, minored in economics and religion, graduated top of his class, and right after that, he became a fireman. And since then, he's owned a number of his own businesses, everything from construction to a yogurt business and doing real estate. So he definitely has the entrepreneurial spirit, and we'll get to talk to him some about that today. So, David, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. I am glad to be on episode 3 because my nickname was 3D, and episode 3 and 3D construction I think is quite fitting.
It is quite fitting. So, we were talking a little bit earlier about your entrepreneurial spirit, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I think it means that I've always tried to take advantage of an opportunity. One of the first things that I can remember was selling fireworks, and it being coming off the 4th of July, we had a little fireworks stand. And back in the 80s, we were making about $2,000 a day. So I thought maybe I could be the firework king of the South. But we decided that when all the big fireworks stands came into town, that we decided we'd go a different route. But I think really just looking at your circumstances, looking at opportunities that you have, and really taking advantage of those, I think is what the entrepreneurial spirit is all about.
Yeah, I agree. So, since you've definitely tried a lot of different businesses, and I'm just wondering what advice you would give to someone that's thinking of starting a business.
Well, I think the first thing that I would tell you is to always do your very best at wherever you're at. I can remember when I was in the fast food business, what I wanted to be was the best grillman that they had ever seen. So I flipped burgers when I got home. I practiced because I wanted them to see a difference in me from all the other employees. So when I started there at 15 years old, by the time I was 17 years old, they had moved me to manager, and I was running the place. I was doing all the ordering, I was doing the hiring, and I was doing the firing. Really, I didn't know what I was doing, but the most important thing that I was doing my very best.
Yeah, and that is true. He did come home and practice flipping burgers with bananas and a spatula on the counter. So it sounded like a good story, but I want you to know that that is definitely the truth. So also, I know that in starting your business and different ones, and some have worked and some haven't. So, what is a probably one of the worst mistakes that you've made along the way, and then later we can talk about some of the best mistakes.
Well, one thing that I've always done is I've always been willing to take a chance. And when you take a chance, you're taking a chance with your time, which is very important. You're taking a chance with your money, which is hard to come by. And I think you've got to be willing. I wouldn't say willing to risk it all, but you certainly got to be willing to risk your time and certainly some of your money. So one thing that I'd always been interested in doing, probably since we were in high school, was opening a yogurt business. And it's funny that I talk about this the most because it's actually one of the things that I failed at. And I thought I did all the things right because I went to Orlando. You didn't mention that I've got a degree in yogurtology. I don't know what a degree in yogurtology is worth, but I've got one.
I
So I
can't believe I
tried to do
forgot
all,
that one.
well, that was a very important part of my history. So I tried to do all the things right. I wanted to set up a yogurt business that was not a mom and pop. I actually asked for your help, if you remember, in trying to come up with a logo, trying to come up with a catchy phrase. And I remember just coming up with the name Polar Freeze. And we set everything up. We did everything right, in my opinion. We set up the POS system. We came up with the logo. We came up with the name. We decorated the store, what I thought to be very professional. And when we opened up on January the 7th. It was 7 degrees outside. What a perfect startup time for a frozen dessert. And we did awesome. I couldn't believe it. Uh, we were making $32,000 a month in
Wow.
'07. We were netting $16,000 a month. I thought, man, I opened 10 of these stores. I'm going to be making $160,000. I will never build another house. I will never put out another fire. I will just be content with selling frozen yogurt. It sounded perfect to me. We worked hard. It was a family environment. All the kids were involved. And it was certainly one of the most enjoyable times that I'd had in my life because I had worked hard. Everything had come into place. We had celebrities come and we had all kinds of, we had a mascot that was a penguin that we had ordered. We thought that we had it all going on. And guess what happened?
What?
2008 happened. And we went from clearing $16,000 a month to me actually having to spend $2,000 a month to keep it open. And I was in shock. I couldn't figure out what had happened. One thing, we were in a small community, but here's the mistake that I made. I was so sure that this was going to work. I did not have an exit strategy. And you say, well, what's an exit strategy? Well, I didn't know what an exit strategy was. If I would have known what an exit strategy was, maybe I would have worked on an exit strategy. So here I was with a 3-year lease, $2,600 a month. We had done so well. I got pretty aggressive because everything looked like that it was going perfect. I went ahead and opened a second store in Pigeon Forge. And here's another mistake that I made. When I was evaluating the market, I thought in the small market, I was the only yogurt store in the town. When I went to the larger market, I was only one of 3. But here's what I didn't realize. People have X number of dollars to do X number of things. So not only was I competing against all the big brand yogurt stores, I was competing against Krispy Kreme. I was competing against Dollywood because people only have so much money to do so many things. And I had looked over that. I had a narrow mind when it was a much broader field that I should have been looking at. And to date, it really hurts me that we didn't succeed because it appeared that we had done all the right things, but actually we didn't have an exit strategy. Who can tell when the economy goes bad like it did in '08? And people are not going to pay $5 for a cup of yogurt when you can go to McDonald's and get an ice cream cone for 99 cents. I
Right.
mean, it's pretty simple mathematics, but I could not see past my little tunnel vision of what we had going on in the yogurt business.
So, although when you start a business, nobody ever thinks, hey, I need to have my exit strategy up front because, of course, everybody wants to be successful. But is that something you would recommend all small business owners to do?
Well, I think you need to certainly take a look at that because when you're negotiating a lease contract, I negotiated a 3-year lease. Well, I never dreamed that I wasn't going to make it 3 years. So what happened, we had a pretty successful 1 year because we were doing really good in the beginning and it started plummeting down that I thought we could survive. But what happened when I had to start feeding the business, then it actually made sense for me to close the business because at that point I was only losing $2,700. But when you're negotiating a lease, you're in control.
Right.
You can put all kinds of amendments in there stating that the buyout clauses, stating that if after the first year this business is not successful, I pay you $2,500 and I walk away. You can get creative in negotiating your lease on the front end. Guess what? On the back end,
They have the
you've
power.
got a you've got a bound contract. And you know what I was responsible for? I was responsible for a 3-year lease. So in the lease, it did say if they leased it, then I would be out of my lease. Would you think they're motivated to lease a building that somebody's paying like clockwork?
No.
Absolutely not. So you need to think about the things on the back end, even though you think that might be some negativity that you're bringing to the scene. It's actually very important that you make wise decisions in the beginning, because in the beginning is where you make the mistakes. On the tail end, you just get to learn from your mistakes.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about where your courage comes from. What, other than the entrepreneurial spirit, helps you bring different things to the table? Because it certainly, you know, looking at everything you've done and all the business that you've started through the years, sometimes you seem to just, it feels like you're willing to risk it all. You have the courage to do what it takes to get these businesses up and running. And a lot of people just don't have that. They may have some great ideas, but they don't really have that courage that comes with it to help take a risk and get off the starting block.
Well, let me tell you one thing that I learned at an early age is that you have to get up and do an honest day's work for an honest day's wage. I saw that from my grandfather. I saw that from my dad. There's no free lunches. I think too many people that have an entrepreneurial spirit are always looking for a get rich quick. There may be some get rich quicks out there. There may be some .coms that people have just stumbled across and didn't have to put out a lot of effort. But what I found out through the last 30 plus years that I've been doing this, at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end, it takes a lot of work. And also it takes a lot of faith. Because sometimes I don't think that I would step out in these things if I didn't feel comfortable that what I had coming up was something that maybe the Lord had in store for me. And a lot of the blessings that I've seen, a lot of the success, to be honest with you, has not been from anything that I've done personally. It's just been, I feel like, a blessing that things have worked out, because it goes to show you in the yogurt business, I think I did all the right things and I failed. And you know how hard it is for me to say that I failed? I
Yeah.
still scratch my head like, how in the world did this not work? Because to be honest with you, I put a lot more effort into that than maybe anything else I'd ever done in my life, and it did not work. So I think one thing is you better make sure that you're prayed up before you start some of these things, and make sure that you're doing what is not only makes sense in your mind, but also is something that's going to be that makes sense, that you prayed about it, that you seek wisdom, because it's hard for some people that have entrepreneurial spirits to go and ask for help, to go to people that know more than you do. Because I've always known if I could surround myself with people that were smarter than me, how much better off that would it be? Because I've always felt like that I had to do everything because nobody can do it like I can do it. Well, what you've got to find is you've got to be able to delegate to people. So you've got somebody that only is maybe half as talented as you. Well, you can work with them and maybe get them up to 75%. And then that can free you up to do other things that you're gifted in and delegate that to somebody else. That's probably the biggest mistake that I've consistently made, is trying to do everything myself and not delegate it to other people so that you can be freed up to do the things that you're good at.
Right. So it is interesting. The thing you hate to say is the failure associated with the yogurt store. However, a lot of the lessons learned that you're giving is from that particular business strategy. So that's why I always say it's just as important, even if you fail, at least you tried. And if you don't try, you'll never know if you would have succeeded or not. So we're almost out of time today, and I know that we have tons of questions left, and actually we have a little more time than I thought we did. So a couple of things that we've talked about: your worst mistake, and I want to talk about your best mistake, something you really didn't intend or mean to do, but it turned out really well for you.
Well, one thing that I've always tried to do, because you've always thought I was a huge risk taker, when in actuality, I wasn't that much of a risk taker, because to be honest with you, construction was really at the heart of a lot of the things that I've done. So I've been in the vinyl siding business. I've been in the drywall business. I've been in the landscape business. I've been in the HVAC business. I've been in the plumbing business. So I've branched off to a lot of little side businesses because it, you got to keep your eyes open. And this is a funny story, but when you see the plumber pull up in a beat up white work van on Friday, and then you go out on Saturday and he's in a brand new Porsche, you might want to scratch your head a little bit and say, this guy's making pretty good money. So I've looked at different things and as far as subcontract work, and then I've decided to kind of go into some of those businesses and have been really successful in branching out in some of those small businesses. And it really didn't take a lot of capital to get in those businesses because I already had my workman's comp in place, I already had general liability in place. So a lot of the things were already in place for me just to open up a small business kind of under the big umbrella of what I already had established. So that's a good thing for a lot of people that are looking to start up businesses is what can I do for kind of a minimum financial investment, but something that I can put a lot of sweat equity into. And you can be successful sometimes by working. But what's the old saying? It always takes money to make money. And to a certain degree, that's true. But I think when you see things that don't take as much of a capital investment as some of the, well, and I hate to keep going back to the yoga, but when you pay $2,700 a month and a store is closed, you learn a lot in those times of writing that check because you just feel like you're wadding up money and throwing it to the landlord.
Right.
But here's the thing on the yogurt. I looked at all the franchises. Probably an average franchise was about $400,000 to buy a franchise. And then I had to look at what do I get for my $400,000? Well, you get some branding, you get product, and you also get royalties that you have to send to them. So in that case, I decided that I would go out and start my own company. And instead of buying a franchise, that I would start from scratch. I will tell you this, that's very difficult to start from scratch. It was more involved than I ever imagined. And you can see that I didn't succeed. However, I think I had the model to succeed, but I just could not foresee the 2008 crunch. And we were too new of a business. A lot of the big yogurt stores, and this makes me feel good, like 5 of the big stores shut down in Knoxville. And I was going, well, at least there's some consolation. They couldn't make it either. And they had been around for 25 years. So I think you've got to be wise in what you do because, and I've been in a lot of different businesses and I'm not in a lot right now. Right now, I'm zeroed in on, well, I say that people will laugh. You're not in a lot. Well, I'm a contractor. I've got my real estate license and I'm a developer. But all those things are very closely related. So I may have went outside of my realm of expertise when I got into the food service business, even though I'd worked a little bit of fast food as a youngster. But so you want to make sure that when you start a business that it's something that first of all that you're passionate about.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Where does the passion for actually what you're doing, how much does that play into it?
Well, I think passion is very important, but as much as passion, and I think passion and competitiveness kind of go hand in hand because I've always said that I'll take a man of average intelligence that's super competitive over somebody that's super intelligent that could care less whether they win or not.
Right.
Because you can be the smartest person in the class, but if you have no ambition to win, then how much does your intelligence help? And people scratch their head about that comment, but I like somebody that's competitive. I like somebody that wants to get in there and they want to be the very best. They want to come out on top. They may not be the smartest person, but they're willing to put in the extra effort for whatever it takes in order to be the best that they can be and to succeed in whatever they're doing.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, and we're out of time for today. But I'd certainly want to thank you for coming on the show, sharing some key thoughts and wisdom with us. And go ahead, and we're going to be following up with you in the next month or so. And we want to focus in on some different avenues next time you're on. I've got so much material from just today that I know I can get at least another two shows that we have a lot to talk about and things to share. But it's been fun, and we appreciate you joining us. And now, is that hook or huck on your shirt?
Uh, I thought it was Huck, but it's actually Hook.
Hook.
And when I Googled it, this redneck said, "I'm a redneck, and I even know that it says Hook." And I've called it Huck. I've called it Huck for about a year. And so maybe I'm a little worse than a redneck that I don't know that says Hook. It makes sense. It's a fishing shirt. So I don't know what Hook means. I thought it was an acronym.
Yeah, for
But
a
actually,
fishing hook.
yeah, but actually it's Hook. So I don't think I'm going to get in the apparel business because I can't even read the words that's on the shirt.
Well, that would be one business that you might stay out of. It. You still got a lot of years left, so maybe next year you'll be in the apparel business.
I don't know.
All right.
I do like to watch Shark Tank, and the apparel business seems to be a very tough market to
It
conquer.
is. Okay, everyone. Well, we will be seeing you soon. Thanks for joining us today and have a great evening. Bye.